Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. To my 3 subscribers, I'm very sorry I haven't posted in 2 months, but I did have my baby. She's sitting right beside me, so if you hear any weird random noises, it's just her. So today I'm going to be telling my birth story, which was a little bit crazy, definitely not at all what I expected, but I mean, that's kind of how giving birth is. Good. She makes a lot of random noises, sorry. She is awake, but she's just chilling. Anyways, so I went into labor on July 10th, and basically sorry, let me back up. I get ahead of myself. Okay, so she had been like head down for at least 2 weeks. I think it was closer to like a month, but it was minimum 2 weeks. What are these noises you're making? You're silly. Anyways, so she was head down for 2 weeks at least, and I was like so done with being pregnant. I like couldn't handle it. She was head down. She was always pushing on my bladder. Like I would go to the bathroom, and then 5 seconds later, I felt like I had to go to the bathroom again, and it was really just like annoying, and I couldn't handle like anything. It was just so painful. Like anybody that's been pregnant, like when you're done, you're done. Although I was done from like week 1, so who knows. Anyways, so yeah, so it was July 10th when I went into labor, and I was actually supposed to have an appointment that day to potentially get induced, but I woke up in the morning and my water broke at 10:30. Or no, sorry, my water broke at 10. I remember because it was when I had just woken up. So my water broke at 10. My fiance was conveniently off that day because he doesn't work like a set schedule. So he was conveniently off that day. And I was supposed to have an appointment to potentially be induced. My mom was still at work. She was trying to sell her business, but she didn't get around to it. Why is my ring like brown? That's concerning. Okay, I'll clean that later. Sorry. Get easily distracted. Anyways, so my mom was supposed to be done with selling her business, but she wasn't yet. And my dad was out of town, which I wanted him not to be in the room, but like to, meet his granddaughter, obviously. And so basically, yeah, so I woke up at 10:30 or 10 and my water broke. And at first I was like, I don't know if this is my water breaking, because basically I peed. Hi. Are you making little noises? I peed, and then I like leaned forward because I felt like that helped empty my bladder more. And so I did that. And then, sorry, my brain is broken, mom brain. So I peed, and then I leaned forward to empty my bladder fully. And then that was when I felt like a little pop, and I'm pretty sure that that was my water breaking. And I hadn't had any contractions at this point. Like, I had just woken up, I felt totally fine, totally normal, and my water broke, and I hadn't had any contractions. And even like right after my water broke, like I had been, gosh, what's the word? I had been kind of in shock, so like my contractions didn't fully start till like half an hour after, which I know is not that big a deal, but most people, their water doesn't even break till after they've had contractions. So the fact that mine broke immediately, like it was more so like the movies, like my water broke first and then I had contractions, whereas traditionally you have contractions and then your water breaks. So basically my water breaking was like the worst experience of my life. My water broke. I went through 3 pads in 20 minutes. And basically, also 2 pairs of pants. Yeah. So I just decided that I was gonna wear a dress to the hospital. I don't know if that was the best idea. I don't really know. But basically, like, because I thought that I was gonna get induced later that day, I was like, oh, I'll finish packing my hospital bag after I get induced. It'll all be good. Are you laughing because you know that you're the cause of this story? Yeah. She's so funny. She's so cute. Anyways, so I thought I was gonna get induced, so I was gonna finish packing my hospital bag, do all the things. So I was like, okay, well, my water broke, so I called them and I said, hey, I don't know how this is gonna work because my water just broke. Like, I don't know, should I still come to the appointment? Like, obviously you guys don't need to induce me anymore, but like, does it matter? And they were like, well, if you can make it, because I called them at 10. My appointment was at 1:30. Are you talking? Mommy's trying to talk right now. Yeah, hi. Anyways, so my appointment was at 1:30 and it was 10 o'clock. And I was like, okay, well, I should be fine because I don't have any pain. It's just my water broke. And they were like, yeah, so just like put a pad on and you'll be fine. And then it was around 10:30 when I started actually experiencing pain. And it wasn't too bad. It was maybe like a 3. But I was like, okay, well, maybe we should just go to the hospital now. So I called my mom, and my mom was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a grandkid today, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, don't get your hopes up. Labor might take a while. Like, I mean, you've been through this 3 times before. You know what it's like, obviously. And so because my water broke, I progressed so fast. Like, I'll get into that a little bit later, but it progressed so fast that by the time that we were leaving our house, like, I was trying to get all of our last minute stuff packed up, which I forgot all my medication, which was great. And what else did we forget? We forgot a couple other important things. Oh, I forgot to bring a water bottle, which I was really upset about because getting water, it was like so far away, and like there was just a lot of complications, and I didn't want to be like left alone with the baby while my fiance went and got water, or my mom went and got water, or someone. Anyway, so I wish I had brought a water bottle, so bring a water bottle if you're going into labor. Also bring your medication. I did remember to bring like my toothbrush and stuff like that, so that was good. And then, yeah, I don't think I forgot anything else super major. But anyways, so then we realized that, okay, we should like go to the hospital. So I got ready, my fiance got ready, we let our dogs out, which that was another big issue, was like, my dad said that he would watch our dogs if he was home, but he wasn't home, he was out of town. So, what? Don't be sad. You know, if you keep your pacifier in your mouth, you won't be sad as much. Anyways, so my dad said that he would watch our dogs if he was home, but he wasn't. He was out of town. And then, yeah. So basically, I wasn't, like, fully ready because her due date was July 26th, and she came on July 10th. And what? I thought she was going to come on July 26th, but she didn't. She came on July 10th. So anyways, so we got in the car, and I was like, well, I hadn't eaten anything since, like, 5 a.m., and at 5 a.m. I had eaten 3 chicken strips that were left over from my dinner the night before. So I was hungry, and I knew that once you got into labor you couldn't eat. So I was like, okay, let's just like go to McDonald's real quick. And my fiance was like, no, let's just go straight to the hospital. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, I'll be in labor for a while. Like, I just want to eat something before we go, because I thought I would be in labor for forever. And so basically we went through the McDonald's drive-thru. And, like, as we were ordering, I literally felt, like, 10 times worse. Like, I was at a 3, and I maybe went to, like, a 7 in, like, maybe 5 minutes. In pain, not in dilation. I don't really know how that went, but I'll get into that later. So I was at a 3 on the pain scale, and I went to a 7 in, like, maybe 3 minutes. And then by the time we got our food, I ate, like, 4 bites, and then I threw it up on the side of the road. Yeah, so then we decided, okay, we should go get my mom and go to the hospital. So my mom had to call somebody to come and cover her because she was still working, even though she wasn't supposed to be working. That's another complication, but we won't really get into that. Anyway, so she had to find somebody to come and cover her, and I know that all she was doing was literally just, like, looking to make sure that no one was in the store, but when we pulled up, she, like, wasn't outside and ready, and I was like, oh my gosh, why is she taking so long? But literally all she was doing was making sure that the doors were locked, so I was just being impatient. Anyways, so I was busy being impatient, and I was in so much pain. Like, I was at a 7, and then, so we started driving, and the hospital is, like, maybe a 20-minute drive from where I live. And my fiance later admitted to me that he didn't exactly know the full address, but he knew that I was in so much pain that if he spent time looking up the address, that I was gonna probably get mad at him. Which I don't know if that's necessarily true, because I feel like I would have gotten more mad if we had gotten lost or didn't get there on time. But anyways, so I was in so much pain. Like, my fiance is driving, my mom's trying to hold my hand in the back seat. Like, she's in the back seat, I'm in the front seat. I'm sitting on a towel because I am leaking so much freaking amniotic fluid. If your water doesn't break right away and they have to break it at the hospital, be grateful. Be so grateful, because there was so much fluid. I had brought a towel to sit on because I knew I was leaking. I had a pad on, I brought a towel to sit on, and I still leaked through to the car seat. Like the actual seat of the car, not like a baby car seat, duh. But anyways, there was so much fluid, I did not know what to do. Like, I was just sitting there in pain, holding my mom's hand, and my mom's like, do you want a drink? Do you want to eat some of your food? Like, she's trying to help, but obviously, like, there's nothing you can do to help. Like, that's all it is. And we kept hitting every single red light. I swear to God, like, every time there was a light, it was red. I was ready to lose my mind, and I kept asking my fiance, I'm like, how much further? How much further? And he just kept being like, oh, it's 2 minutes. Oh, it's 2 minutes. Like, I think he said that at least 3 times, and I was like, how many 2 minutes are there? Like, I was losing my mind. At this point, I was at like a 9 for pain. Like, I was shaking. Not fully, but like just a little bit. Like, I had a little bit of shakes. And then yeah, so eventually we get there, and my fiance is like, okay, I'm gonna go like pull the car and you two go ahead. I didn't really know where to go because they don't do like hospital tours where I am, or maybe they did and I just never really asked about it, I don't know. So anyways, so we walk in and I'm like, hi, checking in, blah blah blah. So they're like, okay, like, how far apart are your contractions? And I'm like, I feel like I'm having them like every minute. And they're like, okay, well, just go sit down and then we'll have someone check you. So basically I went and sat down with my mom, and I was leaking fluid the whole time we were walking in. Like, my shoes that I were wearing, they were completely soaked. I had to throw them away, which I was sad about because they were my favorite pair of shoes. But they were so covered in fluid. I don't know if this is disgusting to anyone. Sorry if it is. That's birth. It's gross. Anyways, so I was leaking so much fluid. I'm like sitting down, and obviously all the other people in the waiting room are either people like because they had a separate labor delivery waiting room. They're either people also in labor or like about to be in labor. So like, who the hell cares? But I was so embarrassed that I was just like sitting at a puddle of my own fluid, and everyone else just looked so calm. They were like, oh yeah, my contractions are maybe 6 minutes apart. I feel totally fine, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, how the hell are you doing this? I'm like barely able to conjure sentences. So at this point, my pain's pretty high. My fiance is parking the car, figuring that out. My mom and I are in there. And they have like 2 separate triages. I don't know why. I don't know why they wouldn't just have one triage, because that would make more sense in my opinion. But they had 2 separate triages. And so basically, I went to the first triage, or no, sorry, I went to the bathroom first, and my pad was already fully soaked, my underwear was fully soaked, so I just gave up on that, and I was like, whatever, I'll just go without a pad, like, how much longer can it be? So I came back from the bathroom. I'm in so much pain that I'm like screaming, not actually, but I'm like moaning. That sounds terrible, but you know, sorry. So I'm like sitting there moaning in pain. All these people are looking at me, and I'm like, sorry, I'm freaking trying to give birth right now. Like, I have a baby coming out of me. Sorry that I'm being in pain. And then I finally get called back for triage. It really wasn't that long, but when you're in that much pain, it feels like forever. It was probably like 15 minutes. And so I went in for triage, and they like took my blood pressure and everything, and they were like, your blood pressure is kind of high. Have you had any experience with high blood pressure? And I'm like, no, but it's probably just because I'm in so much pain. And they were like, well, yeah, we know, but we have to double check that you haven't had any issues with high blood pressure. And then they're like asking like, oh, do you have what the hell is it called? Like, what is it called? Pregnancy diabetes? Why is my brain not working? When you do the glucose test, my brain isn't working, but you know what I mean. Like, when you do the glucose test and they test for gestational diabetes, that's the word, gestational diabetes. Or like, where you, RH positive or RH negative, or you this and that. And I'm like, don't you have all this on file? Like, they said that they faxed my file over here at like 32 weeks. I'm at like 35. No, I was at like 37 weeks. So my file should be over here. Why don't you know anything? Like, I was just getting antsy because, like, I was in so much pain. And they were checking me, and then they were like, okay, well, we have to send you back to the first triage, or back to the waiting room, and then you'll go in for second triage as soon as we get a bed cleared off. And then she gave me literally a puppy pad to put in my pants so that I was no longer leaking amniotic fluid everywhere. That puppy pad was soaked in like maybe 5 minutes. Maybe not even. But anyways, so I did that. And then, so I went back to the waiting room, and then my fiance was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom real quick. And then they called me back to the second triage. So the first triage, they didn't allow anyone back there. It was just me and a nurse in a room. And then she took my blood pressure. She didn't even like check me like down there. She just took my blood pressure, asked me some questions, and then sent me back. Then the second triage, my fiance was allowed to come back. My mom had to stay in the waiting room. And then they were actually going to check me. But my fiance had gone to the washroom. And so I was laying there fully shaking, like I was having a seizure. That's probably what it looked like. I don't know if that's offensive to anybody, but that's literally what it looked like. It looked as though I was having a full-blown seizure. And like, literally, if anybody had saw, they would have been like, are you okay? Because like my mom still, she talks about it and she's like, that was the scariest thing ever, was just seeing you shake like that so badly. Yeah, you caused a lot of problems. Yeah. Anyways, so she said that that was one of the scariest moments of her life, was just seeing me shake so bad. So I get to the other triage. My fiance is still not there. I don't know where he is. And I'm just sitting there while they're waiting for the doctor. And the doctor came in with my fiance, but then left. It was so rude. I was like, oh, so I'm finally gonna get checked. And then they like took me up to the belly monitor to monitor my contractions, and like hooked me up to the like little finger thing. And they're like, okay, the doctor should be in soon. I probably waited like maybe 10 minutes, but again, when you're full-blown body shaking, and like I kept holding my breath, because I usually hold my breath when I'm in pain, but they're like, don't do that. Make sure you take long, deep breaths. But I was trying so hard, but it hurt so bad. Like, I had never been in that much pain before in my life, and I feel like I have a pretty high pain tolerance. So I was just like falling apart. Like, obviously I know everyone says that like birth is the most painful thing ever, but literally I did not expect it to be that bad. So anyway, so the doctor finally comes in, she checks me like down there, and she says, you're at an 8. And I was like, I'm at a what? Like, even with how much pain I was in, I was coherent enough to ask her. I was at 8 centimeters dilated, and it was maybe 1 o'clock at this point, maybe. And I had gone into labor at 10 a.m. So that's 3 hours. So in 3 hours, I went from maybe a 0. I hadn't had any previous like cervical checks to know, but we'll just assume 0 to an 8 in 3 hours, which is insane. Like, I have a friend who's a nurse. She's a labor and delivery nurse, and she said like that's literally, she's never even seen that before in her life. So anyways, so I'm at an 8. My fiance texts my mom, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna miss the birth, because like she's already at an 8. And I really wanted an epidural, so I asked him, I was like, is it even worth it to get an epidural? Like, if I'm already at an 8, like, she'll probably be here within like a couple hours. Like, is it worth it? And they said, well, our epidurals work differently than most like conventional epidurals, so they do also help with like when you're pushing and stuff, and like they help for a little bit of afterbirth, because I guess with most epidurals, they only help for like when you're contracting. But obviously I was already at an 8, so I was probably going to get to a 10 in like 20 minutes, because knowing how fast it was going. So anyway, so I'm at an 8. We get rolled into the labor and delivery room. So we're in there, my mom meets us, she's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness I made it. And I had shown a couple people my birth plan already, and it said I had wanted an epidural, so they were like, okay, we're just gonna get you ready for the epidural process. You good, buddy? Yeah, you just feel like kicking? Anyway, so they were like, okay, so we'll get you ready for the epidural process. I, like, literally cannot speak. I'm full-blown shaking, like this, but, like, I can't control it. And of course, if you know anything about epidurals, you have to be insanely still, because if they put them in the wrong place, they will paralyze you. So anyways, so I'm, you know, having my full-blown shakes. The nurse that I was assigned, she was very, very nice. She had been doing it for like 49 years. She said that she was gonna retire, but her kids were all like, no, you should do it till you have your 50 years, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so I feel like I should tell this story faster because it's already at 20 minutes. I'm sorry. So anyways, so the nurse comes in and then she's like, okay, we'll order the anesthesiologist. And I hadn't really even had time to think about, do I still want the epidural? Because again, I was like, I've already made it this far. Like, is there really much of a point? But because they had already ordered it, I was like, okay, whatever, I'll just get it. It wasn't like they were impeding on my decision or like violating my right or anything. It was just like, it all happened so fast that they had seen that I wanted one. So they were like, okay, let's get it done. Anyways, so I got the epidural. Well, getting the epidural was a whole ordeal. So basically, because I had full-blown shakes, it was very important that they make sure that they were being stable with putting the actual epidural in. And when they came to do the epidural, it was a man teaching someone how to do an epidural. So I basically had a student putting an epidural in, and I had full-blown body shakes, which was really not a good combination. I'm not at all judging people, like obviously I know you have to train people that way, but I'm just saying maybe the person who's having like full-blown seizure shakes probably is not the best person to be practicing an epidural on. Like, I was totally fine if he like wanted to be in the room and just like explain the process to him, and I wasn't the first person that he had put an epidural in. I think he said that he had done like 5 other ones, but even still, like 5 versus like he's probably put in like 500, you know, which one would you like? And then they kept taking so long. Like, even the nurse was like trying to tell them to hurry up. Like, I don't remember what she was saying to them, but she was like, trying to tell them to hurry up. And then like the way they had me sitting, I felt so much pressure. I felt like I had to push. Like, I think if I had tried, I would have given birth like right then and there as I was getting my epidural put in. So that would have been super useful, you know. So anyways, so I'm just sitting there, you know, I can't talk because I felt really uncomfortable with the fact that it was a student doing it, but I couldn't talk to articulate that. Like, hey, can he not do it? Like, can he just watch you and you do it? Like, I'm not comfortable with this. But I couldn't speak because I was in so much pain. Like, all I could do was just focus on breathing. And the nurse was like hugging me because, I don't know, I guess that helps with it. But even still, I'm like full-blown shaking. My mom kept saying that she kept trying to get up and talk and like look at me, and the nurse would be like, go sit down, go sit down. But again, I don't really remember because I was in so much pain. Anyways, so the guy starts to do the epidural, and I don't know what he dropped on the floor, but he dropped something on the floor, and they were like, just kick it, it's fine, we'll just get another one. And I was like, what are we doing? We're having like this guy that doesn't know what he's doing, he's dropping stuff, maybe he doesn't have a steady hand, I'm shaking, like, you could potentially cripple me, but again, I can't talk. And my fiance and mom were both like, well, she wanted an epidural, so like, we're getting one. So I don't blame anybody, it was just a really crazy situation. Are you going to sleep now? I think she's going to sleep now. Anyways, so it was just a really crazy situation. So anyways, so I got the epidural finally. And once I got the epidural, I literally felt like totally fine. Like, I was like, ooh, I am chilling. I'm having a good time. And it was like 2:30. They said if I hadn't gotten an epidural, I probably would have given birth to her at 2:30, but I was just like so tired and in so much pain that I knew if I tried without an epidural, I'd probably like just be too exhausted to end up pushing and then maybe have to get a C-section, which I did not want a C-section. That was literally like the last thing I wanted on the planet Earth. I know some people have C-sections and they have great experiences with them. That's fine. I think they're a great option. I did not want one at all. So anyways, so they get baby, or so, oh my god, I can't like think properly. So I get the epidural, I'm like chilling, you know, having a good time, feeling totally calm. Even my fiance was like, how are you like having a full-blown conversation with me now when like 5 minutes ago you could barely even speak? And I was like, I don't know, I just feel totally fine. So then the nurse checks me again and she's like, okay, so you're at a 10 now. So it was 2:30 now, so I'd gone to a 10. I was probably at a 10 earlier, like I said, but that was when they had first checked me again. So I was at a 10 now, and they were like, okay, well, we'll do some practice pushes. So I was doing practice pushes, and then she goes, stop, I need to call the doctor, because you're gonna have this baby soon. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm gonna have this baby soon? So the doctor comes in, probably at like 3:15 at that point. So the doctor comes in, they have like a little birth team that comes in, and they're like, okay, so we're gonna push on each contraction. And I'm like, I don't know when I'm having a contraction. I'm completely numb. So like, you guys have to tell me when I have to push, because I had that belly band on me to like measure when I should push. Sorry, I think I might be leaking. No, I'm good. Okay, sorry. Mom life. So I had that belly band on me to tell me when I needed to push. Or they were gonna tell me when I needed to push. So they were like, okay, push. So I would push, and she would like, they were like, oh, we can see like her head a little bit. And then, because you can't push forever, so I'd have to stop, and then she'd go right back in. And she did that for like at least 30 minutes, and then finally I just realized that if I just kept a little bit of pushing, like not fully pushing, but just like a little bit of pushing, that she didn't go all the way back in, so then I could make more progress, which was good. So I did that. Hi. Goodbye. She's so funny. Anyway, so I did that. So I just held a little bit of pressure just so that she wouldn't go all the way back in, so it felt like it was for nothing. And then they were like, okay, well, her hand's up by her face, so do you want us to cut you, or do you want to just tear naturally? And I was like, just like cut me, I don't care, get this baby out, like whatever you have to do. So then they cut me. And then I think I pushed for like 20 more minutes, and she was out. She was born at 4:02 p.m. and I had gone into labor at 10 a.m. So it was a 6-hour labor, which for your first baby is pretty fast. And again, like I said, if I hadn't gotten the epidural, she probably would have been born at like 2:30. So that would have been like a 4.5-hour labor, which again is insane. And definitely not at all what I was expecting. I was not expecting that at all. I was expecting to be in labor for like at least 8 hours, because I think that's what my mom said her longest labor was, which I know obviously your birth and your mom's birth are not like synonymous, but that was the birth that I had the most experience like knowing of, were all of her births. I thought that I would not have my water break. My water broke right away. I thought that I would go late. I was convinced I would go late. Like, if you asked me, I was like, I really hope she comes early, but she'll probably be like at least a week late. But she came almost 2 weeks early, so that was crazy. So then she finally came out, and my fiance like cut the cord and all that stuff, and then they put her on my chest, and she hadn't cried yet. She was breathing and everything was fine, but she just hadn't cried, which is bad, because if they don't cry, they can't like get some of the fluid out of their lungs. So I had said I wanted to do like 1 hour of her just skin to skin, unless she obviously needed to be transferred. And they didn't like transfer her out of the room, but they did have a team come in to check on her, and they were like, oh, she's fine, like her like all her breathing and stuff is fine, so she should be okay. And then they were like, oh, you should try like breastfeeding her, because it's really good to start it like right away. So I tried to breastfeed her, and obviously I've never breastfed, so it was like extremely painful and it really hurt. But I was like, oh, well, this is just how breastfeeding is. Like, obviously it's gonna hurt, someone pulling at your boob. And then they told me, oh, she has a slight tongue tie, but like it's really not a big deal. So I was like, okay, she has a slight tongue tie, breastfeeding really hurts, like this is just how it is. And so I was just like, okay. So I just continued like being in pain and having her eat. And I think I'm actually like gonna stop this here, because I just feel like I've been talking for a while. This is almost 30 minutes, so I'll continue, like, obviously this is the birth story, but I'll continue like the next couple weeks, I guess, video. So thank you for watching, and I'll upload that video probably soon, and have a good day. Bye.